I believe that if this CAB is passed by the Rajya Sabha, it will mean the collapse of the Constitution as we understand it. They will not rewrite the letter of the Constitution, but just as they've done with Mahatma Gandhi and with Dr. Ambedkar and with Bhagat Singh, you will claim to support it, but you will empty them out entirely of their soul. And that is what the CAB is going to do to the Indian Constitution. See, it's all a question of belonging, who belongs and on what terms. And I recall the young Mia poet Qazi Neil, and he asked, I belong to this country, but does this country belong to me? What the CAB is doing is reopening that question of belonging. What does citizenship really mean? Citizenship ultimately is the right to have rights. So who belongs to this country? Who does this country belong to? And who has rights to have rights in this country? These are the questions, and I think these are not new questions. These are questions that have been with us right through the freedom struggle. Jawaharlal Nehru actually said this in the Constituent Assembly. He said India is the country of every person who feels this is their country, and that was the resolve. We know that the Muslim League had a two-nation theory idea, that there is not one but two nations. There is the Muslim Pakistan and a Hindustan, a Hindu India. And much before the Muslim League, Savarkar had the same idea, that this is truly a Hindu nation and not a nation that belongs equally to all. We know that the RSS and the Hindu Mahasabha never accepted the Indian Constitution. They never accepted the Indian flag because of the green color on it. They never participated in the freedom struggle. They fought for this idea, this alternative idea for India. Mahatma Gandhi lived for many ideas, but the idea that he died for was precisely this idea. Think of the time when 1 million people have died in Hindu-Muslim riots. Another country has been constituted on the basis of religion. Trainloads of people are coming in every direction with corpses. Millions of people, including my own family, are uprooted from their homes. In all of this, it was very easy for the Constituent Assembly to pass a resolution that Pakistan is a Muslim nation, India is a Hindu nation. We chose not to do it, and we resolved, we the people of India, that this country belongs equally in every way to people regardless of their faith, regardless of their caste, their language, their identity in any other respect. And the idea of not just citizenship but equal citizenship in every way, I think is at the core of our Constitution. And what the CAB is doing is breaking that core principle, and this is then a country in which Muslims will be treated on different yardsticks while deciding if they belong and if this country belongs to them and whether they will have the right to have rights. Muslims in India will have a different standing than people of every other religious identity. It is therefore the destruction of the Constitution. And I'd like to say that not just is it a destruction of the Constitution, it's a destruction of the legacy of the freedom struggle. It is also a destruction of what is best in India's civilizational ethos of centuries of millennia actually. That this is the one civilization. It had many problems. It had inequality, it had caste. But the one thing that we can be most proud of in our civilizational legacy is that this was a civilization that welcomed people of every faith and took them as their own and allowed them to develop according to their genius, but also took from them and into our idea of Indianness. So I think that the CAB is also a violation of that larger civilizational legacy of being Indian. So it's a profound attack, and nothing that this government has done matches this step that it is taking. It is the unfinished work of the partition as far as the RSS and the Hindu Mahasabha is concerned, because for them partition meant Muslims have Pakistan and Hindus have Hindustan or India. That is their unfinished task of partition. It is for those of us who believe that India belongs equally to all, it is undoing the work of partition. It is undoing the constitution that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar gave us, and is actually reopening the most painful wounds of partition in what it is doing. I was hearing something that Amit Shah said, and he actually used the word Sardharm Sambhav. He said, we are doing this in order to promote the idea of Sardharm Sambhav. And again, I was just knocked over. How can you're doing precisely the very reverse of Sardharm Sambhav by the CAB, and you're saying you're actually promoting Sardharm Sambhav, which is actually equal respect for every faith as a civilizational idea. It is the destruction of that idea, and he is using that to actually justify or give a kind of moral fig leaf to what they are doing. About that moral fig leaf, the one moral fig leaf that they are giving is that India is a humane country which is welcoming people who are suffering persecution. Now, again, that is such a lie, because the Rohingya, there are just 40,000 Rohingya people in India. This government has started sending people back, and my friends have been part of effort. The first 7 were sent. We know where they are going, but they are being released from detention centers on the condition that they go back to Burma, to Myanmar, and so they consented. So you're throwing people against all international standards of. You don't send people back into a genocidal situation. We have the Ahmadiyas of Pakistan, who are among the most persecuted people. I was in a conference recently of South Asian minorities, and they were telling me that if they're spotted even praying the namaz in Pakistan, they can be jailed for life or even given the death penalty. So they're the Ahmadiyas, they're the Rohingya, they're the Tamil Muslims today who are deeply persecuted, and the Tamil Hindus for that matter. China is also on our borders. China has the Uyghurs who are in internment camps. Afghanistan doesn't share a border with us, so it is not a neighboring country. So it's very clear that this moral fig leaf is also so fake and false. So this is quite clearly only an agenda to target Muslim people. There's a long-term objective of this, which is to build, to create a sense of fear in every Muslim living in India about whether now their belonging to this country is going to be accepted legally and by the larger society. And so, the memories of Germany and what happened with the Jews comes out very starkly as a marked people, and we seem to be, almost irrevocably moving towards that Holocaust situation which we saw in Germany, with the silence and the acceptance and the celebration of the larger community. There's an immediate objective as well of the CAB, and that is to free the majority of people who've been left out of the NRC in Assam are Hindus, and to free them from any further prospect of being declared non-citizens or being sent to detention centers. Now, the extraordinary thing, and I've been thinking about this, I don't think people have seen it so clearly. So for say I think there may be 11, the exact figures are not known, whether there are 11 lakh or 15 lakh Hindus in that list. Till yesterday, they were strenuously fighting in every forum, in every court, in every tribunal, in every NRC office, saying we are Indians. Now, after the CAB, in order to become accepted as Indians, they will have to say in those same forums that we are foreigners. And it is only if now that they say they are foreigners can they become Indians. What a conundrum. So either, जो हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, या तो बीते हुए कल में उन्होंने झूठ बोला या आने वाले कल में झूठ बोलना है, लेकिन झूठ तो बोलना ही है अगर उनको हिंदुस्तानी बनना है. What are we doing to our people? What do they think? And is this what we're going to get reduced to? And so through this web of lies, how are they going to prove that they are not only Bangladeshis when they aren't Bangladeshis, and that they are being persecuted? Now, is the state going to make a presumption? Your presumption then is that every Muslim is a foreigner and every Hindu is, if they can't produce documents, is a persecuted refugee. I am haunted by the history of the last century, and particularly what happened to the Jews. And the most important question that later generations of Germans asked their parents and their grandparents and their grandparents, what did you do at that time? And I think that the fact that most non-Jew Germans acquiesced with their silence or actively supported the whole process by which the Jews were reduced into this kind of persecuted minorities, which finally resulted in the Holocaust. I don't want India to go this way, and we have to do everything now to prevent it from going this way. This entire the 370, the way triple talaq was done, the Ram Mander judgment, the CAB, the national NRC, probably a national anti-conversion law, a much stronger law probably around cow slaughter, which would make cow slaughter as big a crime as killing a human being. These are the kinds of things that will together add up to exactly the same kind of Holocaust-like situation. And the majority community has to take responsibility to not allow this to happen. It is not a problem only of the Muslims, it is a problem of the kind of country that we want to raise our children in and to give to them. Do you want a country that is divided on hate and bigotry? The kind of discourse that I hear Amit Shah doing, or Hemanta Biswa Sarma, I was hearing him on television the other day, he was saying, when the anchor was asking him, why are you doing this? He said, can you imagine, a day can come when in Assam, Badruddin can become the chief minister. As if, that is like such a terrifying prospect. Why? We have had Muslim presidents. We should have. America has had a African American prime minister, president. Why should we not have? I mean, Muslims as part of India's political life. Why should we be frightened by the prospect that we might be led by a person of Muslim identity? And to have that kind of bigotry in public discourse, unchallenged, is a reflection of what kind of country we are allowing ourselves to become. This has to be resisted. The CAB calls for a civil disobedience movement of the kind that the freedom struggle showed us. And it is nothing short of a freedom struggle, because the freedom struggle was to establish not just a free India, but a certain kind of free India, which we have almost lost. And I feel it can be responded to with a struggle, with a freedom struggle, which is built around the same principles of civil disobedience that Mahatma Gandhi taught us. Now, what do you do in civil disobedience? There are 2 or 3 rules in it. In civil disobedience, you have to, if there is an unjust law, you have to publicly disobey it. And secondly, you have to demand that the consequences of that disobedience is visited upon you. So you don't not only have to accept the punishment for disobeying the law, you have to demand it. Your civil disobedience is incomplete. So if Gandhiji made a fistful of salt by breaking a colonial law, he then demanded that he'll be put in jail for that act. It was not just enough that he made the salt. When I was thinking about how we should resist this in civil disobedience, I recognized that being a non-Muslim, there is actually no consequence. Whether, even if I boycott the NRC, nothing's going to happen to me, because I belong to a community where at very worst it will be presumed that I'm a refugee, and my citizenship will not be taken away. I will not be put into a detention center. My family will not be put into a detention center. So I thought that the only way I could really stand in solidarity would be to declare myself, firstly, to be a Muslim. Now, once again, how are you officially recognized to be of a certain religion? We only have a declaration, which usually at the time of the census. So there will be a process of declaration. You declare who you are, and that is accepted. So in my family, it's funny because I'm born in a Sikh family, so my daughter was declared Sikh. My wife is Hindu, and I say I'm an agnostic. And the person is a little puzzled as to what to write here. Your family has much more interesting sort of diversities in the way of reporting. So I feel that I am an agnostic. I am not a person of any faith, but in protest I will register in any official forum after the CAB as Muslim. That is number one. Where my religion is relevant to my rights, I will seek rights only equivalent to that which a Muslim can get. The second after that, I would boycott the NRC. And I feel very strongly that well-to-do Muslims should not present documents, even if they are capable of doing so, in the NRC, because it would be equivalent to throwing your poor and uneducated people without documents under the bus. I work with homeless people, and there's a desperation among Muslim homeless people saying, but we have no documents at all, what should we do, what's going to happen to us? So boycott NRC is very important, but first you have to be a Muslim on official records, then you boycott the NRC. And thirdly, learning from Gandhi's civil disobedience, is the question of saying that not only have I broken your law, I demand punishment under that law. So under that law, because I am Muslim official on your official record, and I have not presented any document to prove my citizenship, I am an illegal immigrant, and whatever happens to another Muslim sister or brother, whether it is a detention center or it is the stripping of citizenship rights, I demand that those same consequences are visited upon me. That is, and if this can become a mass civil disobedience, I think that is the only fitting reply that we can give to the Citizenship Amendment Bill.